Okay, I just finished watching the absolute last episode of Vinland Saga that's available at this point, season 2, episode 24. Spoiler alert. The last episode had so much of a finale type feel to it. I was really curious as to what this one was going to be about. This one was really a nice payoff episode. It was like for everybody who watched the entire 2 seasons, 48 episodes in all, you went on this ride with Thorfinn and saw his life get, turned tumultuous as a 6-year-old, and you saw him become a bloodthirsty warrior, then a pacifist, and then he ends up going back home. And this is a nice payoff. You actually just get to see him come back home and how it all worked out for him in the end. And you get a little bit of a futuristic look of where his life's going to go. But at 22, he lived so much, and he had gone through so much. And you go through it with him watching the 2 seasons, that it was nice. It was a nice, relaxing, not much blood. It was a little bit of violence, but it was kind of funny. So they're sailing home. Einar's with them, Leif's with them. They call the little kid that Leif nicknamed or named Thorfinn. They call him Bug-Eye, of course. Terrible nickname. But anyway, they're all sailing back to Iceland, passing there's a bunch of icebergs in the water, and the sun is low at this point in the year because it's winter time. And Einar is, talking about farming, how you can't farm like this, and because it's the sun, there's not a lot of sun, there's no trees, and Leif is just kind of explaining to him how life works there, how there is some farming, there is some pastures and grazing, but not a lot, and a lot of fishing, and just kind of explaining the Icelandic culture to them, to Einar. Thorfinn, doesn't remember a whole lot. He was 6 years old when he left. If you stop for a second and close your eyes and think back to when you were 6, you don't remember a lot. So they arrive, and that's the funny thing. Leif is telling him these people are waiting for him. He gets there, there's a bunch of people there, and they're like, I don't know this guy. And, this is a close-knit village. They all know each other. So one of the guys asks Thorfinn what's his name, and Thorfinn guesses some name that's not his. And he's like, the guy was young, when he left. So they take him to see Ylva, his sister. He sees her, and she grabs him. Now, she was already in some kind of a semi-violent exchange with somebody that she thought was cheating her, and she's a physical chick, so she's grabbing people. She's grabbing people, and when she sees Thorfinn, he comes to hug her, and she puts her foot out and catches him in the face. And then they try to explain to her it's him. She doesn't believe him, and she grabs him and she shakes him. I was saying during the episode, like she's shaking him like a maraca. She's, his eyes are going every which way, and she's, rattling him around. And I was talking about to my son, who my son and I actually got to watch this episode together as well. He's still in town here with me. So this is we got to see episode before last, episode 22 together. And now we got to sit and watch episode 24 together. He'll be going home this weekend. So when I start watching the next series, which is going to be Blue Eye Samurai, for those who are interested, it'll be back to him being where he is and I'm where I am. And I'll be using the YouTube videos to let him know what I thought of the series. And that starts Monday. But anyway, I was telling him I like the fact that they showed Ylva all through this episode being so strong. Clearly, she is the daughter of Thor's, who is this strong, amazing warrior guy. And we know Thorfinn got his strength, but his daughter did as well. And they don't really even mention it during the show, during the episode. But it's clear, the mom is very docile and quiet. And clearly, when Thorfinn left, she had to take on the male role, if you want to call it that, or the strength role in the household. And she does it well, but, she doesn't believe her brother. She thinks he's trying to con her. So Anyway, that was that. So the next thing you see, he's sitting on a pier, freaking out and, basically not knowing what to do. And they take him to go see his mom. Before that, though, while he's on the pier, Bug Eyes comes up to him. And he's like, I kind of envy you and envy your life because you at least get to see your mom. Even if she doesn't leave you, you actually get to see her. You get to see your family. I don't even know where my family is. So it's a cool little, and this show is so deep and it's so layered. But it was a cool reminder that, there's always somebody who has a worse life than you. So you enjoy what you have. And so Thorfinn goes and sees his mom. And he goes up to her, and she walks right past Leaf and right to him. Unlike Ilva, she recognizes him immediately. Mother-child connection is unreal, and you've heard some crazy stories about mothers being able to recognize their children. So it's not far-fetched that after 16 years, and then he looks like his father. They actually showed him. I was joking because, if you've been watching my reviews of this, I got so tired of seeing King Swain's severed head when he was talking to his son in these visions, talking to Canute. And then, when they showed Thorfinn's face, when his mother was looking at it, right behind it was Thor's face. And it was, it was a vision kind of showing, that he looks like his father. So it wasn't the same thing, but I was just kind of joking. It's like, oh no, it's Thor's severed head. But it's cool. It was cool the way they did it. And she hugged him and they cried. And, then they went inside and he saw the next people he saw his nieces and nephews. And he saw Ilva's husband. And again, my son was reminding me, and I'd forgotten about it, but I do remember there were a few men chasing after Ilva wanting to marry her, way back then when they were younger. And one of them did marry her, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is Thorfinn," because he knew him. Because again, everybody from the village knows each other. So then you see him playing with his nieces and nephews. And Thorfinn playing with his nieces and nephews, and Ilva comes in again, and she's like, "It's you again!" And she grabs him and maracas him again, and starts, and she like throws him into the wall, and oh my God, puts his big indention, and he's, knocked out because he's saying, they asked him if he was okay. Einar asked him, and Einar doesn't have a lot going on in this episode. He's just kind of there, but because again, this is Thorfinn's homecoming. So, Einar asks him if he's okay, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I know how to take a punch." And then he's kind of slumps down. I don't know if he's unconscious or just, really badly hurt. And then they're like, somebody, I can't remember who said it, it was like, "Oh my gosh, she did that with just one blow." And again, showing the strength of Thor's in the woman, which I love that. I love when they kind of eschew gender roles and just allow things to be. And, it's not unreasonable that Thor's would pass his strength down to his daughter. Who has clearly learned to exercise it. Anyway, her mom was the one that finally got her to believe that it was him, So then they end up, having dinner together, the whole family, and Thorfinn tells his whole story, apparently. They don't show it all. They kind of talk through a little bit of it, and they kind of show flashbacks to the series, but he tells the whole story of what his life was from when his father died to being on Kettle's farm, and they show all these flashes. Of course, Einar's on a lot of them, and he's had this unbelievable life. He's 22 years old. When they first got to the island, he didn't even remember. He was like, "I've been gone for 10 years." He was like, "Wait a minute, I don't even know how old I am." So if he thought he was gone for 10 years, he knew he left at 6. He thought he could have been as young as 16 years old, and he was 22. So I could not imagine having a life so wild and crazy that I could be anywhere from 16 to 22 years old, and I don't know what that is. So like I told my son, I said he's probably lived like 3 lifetimes in 22 years. So anyway, the next thing you see is Einar talking to their mom. I think her name was Helga. He was going to go stay with some friends who came on the boat with them. And she was like, "Just stay here," and she says, really lovingly, she's like, "Look, if you and my son consider yourselves brothers, then you're my child too." And he kind of, you could tell it kind of touched him. So she kind of, folded him into their family, which is really, really cool. Because, Thorfinn and Einar are closest brothers. So it's a really, really cool. This episode was really cool, just the way they kind of just like, it let everything kind of unfold slowly. and you just got to enjoy the peace of the life that they have come to have now after all of the strife and turmoil. I mean, the slaves and Einar's families home getting burned to the ground, and Thorfinn having to fight and kill at 6 years old. And it was a really, really cool, slowly paced episode, well paced. And you got to even a little conflict between Ylva and Thorfinn. It was comical, but you were kind of wondering when she was going to finally, come around, because even she, even after she saw it was him, she hit him again. And it wasn't until after all they had talked about, when Thorfinn talked about all of his life, that she came into the room and she said something to him, and they kind of had a little semi-tender moment talking about their father, talking about what a great man he was. Thorfinn, of course, is still wanting to establish Vinland. He wants to go to Vinland and establish a society. He was telling everybody about it, and his sister was kind of like, it's going to be hard, and his mom said, you should do it, kind of gave him the okay. And, when your mom or somebody, you respect like that, kind of, it's like, you kind of, confirms what you're already thinking. It kind of strengthened his resolve. And then Leif offered to go with him. Einar's already going. I'm assuming the Bug Eye Kid is going to go with him. So the episode ended with what it looked like them getting ready to go and establish Vinland. I don't know if they're going to have more to Vinland Saga and show them actually going there and whatever struggles they go through. I almost think it should end right here. It's a beautifully written story, a beautifully written series. I told my son today, I said, I've watched a lot of TV in my almost 50 years. I can't think of 10 series in my life, and I've never seen an anime before, but I can't think of 10 series in my life that I liked better than I enjoyed Vinland Saga. It was incredibly well written. And even this send-off episode, this last episode, I couldn't for the life of me imagine what this episode was going to be about, because episode 23 was such most American shows, that would have been the last episode, and they just kind of let you it was like fan service. It just kind of let you enjoy the fact that Thorfinn was home after leaving at 6 and sneaking onto that boat to go be with his father, and watching his father die and hooking up with Askeladd and trying to fight him, and because to get the duel, and then running into Canute, and Askeladd getting killed by Canute, and then becoming a slave, being on the Kettle's farm with Einar, and all the stuff with Arnheid, and meeting Snake and Fox and Badger. I mean, this whole story, it was just unreal. And going through all that, and then you get to episode 24, season 2, and he just kind of gets to be home again. It was really, really beautiful. It was a really beautiful ending. It was probably the most touching. I'm a very emotional person. The most touching part of Vinland Saga to me was when Omar decided that he was going to give up the farm. That episode, for some reason, was the one that got me more emotional than any. This was the second most. Watching this episode and watching Thorfinn come home, it was really, really cool. I really have enjoyed this series. I don't know what's to come of the next series I watch, Blue Eye Samurai. My son says it's more violent than this one, so I'll see. But I really enjoyed Vinland Saga, and I told him I'm probably going to watch it again at some point, just to refresh myself, and all the different characters, and reliving the whole thing again. It was amazing. It's been an amazing introduction in anime, and I am really looking forward to the anime shows I get to watch, and other shows that I get to watch that are coming up next. All right. So this was awesome. It was awesome, and I really, really love Vinland Saga.